your leader's a dick. And we really, and we think he is, you know, I'm sorry, but that's what they're telling me.
All right.
That's right. It's just another day in this beautiful country we call Canada. Welcome back to the show. My name is Mark Nixon. Today, I'm going to cover, it's not just Alberta that's looking at separating. Doug Ford, he's going to receive heat from content creators, and we're going to get into it. Mark Carney's first week as PM. You are not going to believe what he did first. It's going to blow your mind. And CBC needs to be dismantled immediately. They've become the South Park of Canada. They're not just covering news. They're just saying whatever they want with zero, and I mean absolutely zero repercussions. And guess what? They still get their bonuses and extra pay. And who gets to pay for it? You do. Let's go. And here's a post by Scott Moe. He says that he raised the US-China tariffs, industrial carbon tax, emissions cap, and bail reform, and more. But I didn't see anywhere in Mark Carney's post about the meeting, he didn't mention anything. That's Scott Moe. I bet you Scott Moe was the only person talking in that meeting. And here is what he wrote. It was an opportunity to discuss Saskatchewan's priorities, which include removal of the US-Chinese tariffs, the industrial carbon tax, the Impact Assessment Act, and the oil and gas emissions cap, as well as the role Saskatchewan can play in making Canada an energy superpower. We also discussed bail reform and criminal code changes. Scott Moe took some heat about being pro-Carney, but then he comes out and says, I want to listen to the people of Saskatchewan. If they want a referendum, I'm going to give it to them. Let's go.
Saskatchewan, with a significant number of people that did not support the Liberal Party of Canada, that the Prime Minister would be reaching out and attempting to work with the province. That's our focus. That's our goal, is to work alongside him and to offer him some opportunities.
Saskatchewan does have referendum legislation already in place that allows citizens to present petitions, and the Premier says that his government would honor it should it ever happen.
Just so that people are aware, Saskatchewan, 65% of the population voted for the Conservatives. They want change, and it's because, for example, there's a 100% tariff on agri-foods from China, and we haven't heard a single thing from PM Carney. And here's Mark Carney's post, exactly what I was telling you about. Premier Scott Moe and I spoke today and talked about breaking down trade barriers, opening up new markets, and building one strong Canada economy, not 13. Saskatchewan grows what the world needs, but working together and harnessing that advantage, we will build the strongest, fastest growing economy in the G7. Nowhere did he address any of the things that Scott Moe addressed. And that's why I responded with, the first conversation shouldn't have been about China's tariffs. Should it not have been? You know, Saskatchewan sends nearly $6 billion in agri-food products flowing from the prairies to China, now under retaliatory tariffs. Not a word from Mark Carney. And you could just see the following tweet says, smoke and screens, Premier Moe was seeking response regarding Chinese tariffs for the weeks. And guess what? He failed to talk about it. Mark Carney has not addressed anything to do with China. It's not just me. His comment section exploded. Do you talk to Chinese tariffs? Did you talk about it? The government hasn't said a word about it. Exactly. And look at how many people saw this tweet. 332,000. And you know that most of the comments was about the China tariffs. And now let's talk about Doug Ford. He supports every single one of the Conservative policies. For example, tough on crime. He wants tough on crime, but he actually believes that the Liberals are going to be able to deliver with Mark Carney's leadership being tough on crime. He's like, you know what? I trust the new leader to make it happen. But you know what the problem is? If you want conservative policies, you need to vote conservative. Let's get an update of where this whole debacle with Doug Ford is. He just came out and said, the Conservatives never supported me. Why the F would I support Conservatives?
Don't you dare go out and help the PCs. Isn't that ironic? Okay, you saw the clip from Mr. Giovanni. He doubled down on that with this tweet showing a Hulk Hogan-style image of Doug Ford ripping off an Ontario PC shirt and revealing a red.
What's absolutely hilarious is this Doug Ford ripping off the shirt and having a Liberal shirt underneath garnered millions of views on X.
Liberal shirt underneath. It wasn't very subtle. Neither were his comments on election night, but Jamil Giovanni, the Ontario Conservative MP, is here with me now. Mr. Giovanni, it's good to see you, sir. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, David.
Let's start with the tweet. Let's start with the comments about Doug Ford. You're very clear how you felt about that, but we have seen Tim Houston confirming reporting from during the campaign that political threats were made against senior members of his staff by Jenny Byrne. I mean, is this the way for the Conservatives to build a bigger alliance and win an election?
I don't know anything about these personal dynamics.
Sure.
Why I said what I said on election night is because I was speaking for many Conservatives across Ontario and across Canada who poured their heart, their soul, their time, their energy into this campaign because they believed Pierre Poilievre should be Prime Minister. And for those folks to see Doug Ford undermine the campaign, badmouth Pierre, leak all kinds of stuff to the media, they were frustrated. And, part of my job as a member of Parliament for Bowmanville, Oshawa North, is to say the tough things that need to be said so that the voices of my constituents are heard. And that's what I did. And Doug Ford can get mad about that. He can have his goons say mean things about me. I'm not afraid of him. I don't need his approval. I believe that we accomplished many good things over the course of this campaign, and I want people to focus on those things.
Right. You say you're not afraid of Mr. Ford. You don't need his approval. Do you think he was trying to sabotage your campaign, the Pierre Poilievre team's campaign in Ontario, based on what he said, what Corey Tenike said, and your response to it?
Well, he certainly wasn't helping, and he was certainly being a distraction. I can't comment on his intentions, but I felt compelled on election night to make very clear that with Pierre Poilievre as our leader, we have become a party of dreamers and builders and strivers and hustlers, people who want change. And I don't think Doug Ford represents that, and I don't want him influencing where our party goes next.
Yeah, we saw a different Giovanni, but I completely agree with him. He toned it way down, but I agree with his first stance when he came out and said Doug Ford has completely sold out the Conservative movement. And it's not just Giovanni that thinks that way. There are many Conservatives across Canada that also feel the same way.
On whether Doug Ford is a good enough Conservative. Jamil Giovanni's not the only one who thinks that. I know that there are Conservatives who work for the Ford government at Queen's Park who don't think Doug Ford is a Conservative.
Yeah, that's right. There are many Canadians that don't think that Doug Ford is a Conservative. So this leads me to my next item. There's a lot of question out there on what the future for Pierre Poilievre is. Conservatives are behind Pierre Poilievre. He was able to garner so many votes, the most votes for the Conservatives in 40 years. This is a massive movement for change, and people are rallying behind him. But there are some people that are on the left, like mainstream media, that are trying to plant seeds saying, Pierre Poilievre is finished. And they're actually saying the person to replace him might be Doug Ford. So I wrote this. Imagine Pierre Poilievre stepping down and Doug Ford replacing him as a Conservative leader. That would guarantee the Liberal rule forever. As a Conservative, I will never in my life vote for Doug Ford. If this happens, Canada is straight up finished. The movement would be absolutely dead in the water. Yeah, I don't see that happening, but I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. Would you vote for Doug Ford if he became the leader of the Conservative Party? So following the election, the very first person that Mark Carney spoke to, I mean, he could have spoke to anyone, but the very, very first person he spoke to is this.
For scientists, it is unequivocal. Humans are to blame. All this is entirely consistent with predictions and repeated warnings. The only surprise is the speed of the change. Climate change is here, it is terrifying, and it is just the beginning. The era of global warming has ended, the era of global boiling has arrived. The air is unbreathable, the heat is unbearable, and the level of fossil fuel profits and climate inaction is unacceptable. Leaders must lead.
Did you understand that? Is your air unbreathable? Is it so hot that you are literally melting? Is this catastrophic heating affecting your life? I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. What's your thought on this insanity? And this is who Mark Carney speaks to first. And you are not going to believe what just happened. So the whole world is burning up. But at the same time, just a couple days ago, this article came out. Antarctica's astonishing rebound. Ice sheet grows for the first time in decades. And check out this chart. That is not just 1 year. That is literally for the last 5 years. Antarctica's ice sheet is turning around. It's actually gaining. It's gained so much ice. It's unbelievable. And check out this chart, how quickly it's rebounded. Look, it's like straight up. It's almost like the global warming chart where it goes straight up. This ice is building straight up. And you know what all the scientists say? It's just a blip. It's gonna start heading back down. We promise you the ice is melting. But right now, it's building. Throughout the campaign, Mark Carney says the relationship with the U.S. is officially over, and he continues with that stance. Let's see how he says it.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperation, is over.
All right, Canada, here's a pie chart that shows our trade. Canada's trade with the entire world. 76% is with the US, and the rest of the world represents 24%. We are not moving away from anything. Imagine losing 76% of your trade. That is incomprehensible. Additionally to that is imagine you have to trade with Japan or Australia or New Zealand. Do you not understand how much CO2 needs to be emitted to ship all of our products to the other side of the planet? I thought we were rapidly trying to reduce carbon emissions. The best and most economically sound way is to ship all our stuff to the US, which has a lower carbon footprint. And are we also forgetting that the US is the #1 economy in the world? Make it make sense. Let's see what Donald Trump says about his newfound prime minister and how their relationship is going to go.
It was the one that hated Trump, I think the least of that one. I actually think the conservative hated me much more than the so-called liberal. He's a pretty liberal guy. But no, I spoke to him yesterday. He couldn't have been nicer. And I congratulated him. You know, it was a very mixed signal because it's almost even, which makes it very complicated for the country. It's a pretty tight race.
Are you guys understanding what's happening? First, we have Mark Carney saying our relationship with the U.S. is officially over, and he's telling Trump that he's the boss, he's the one holding all the cards, and we're only going to deal with the U.S. if we want to deal with the U.S. And then we have Donald Trump saying, oh, we're best friends now. Make it make sense. So how is the Donald Trump and Mark Carney meeting going to go when Mark Carney's basically bashing Donald Trump right in front of everybody's faces? Who remembers what happened when Zelensky went to the White House?
In the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
That.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering
position
on
to
this question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
from
yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm
Yeah,
very
you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What do you-
III.
what do you think
You're
about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. It's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
wearing
they
respect.
should have.
Now that we saw this, let's take a look at what Mark Carney said just today. And then I'm going to let you decide how the first meeting with Donald Trump's going to go next week.
Today, I want to speak to the immediate priorities of my government, beginning with our relationship with the United States. As I've stressed repeatedly, our old relationship, based on steadily increasing integration, is over. The questions now are how our nations will cooperate in the future and where we in Canada will move on. We agreed to meet next Tuesday in Washington. Our focus will be on both immediate trade pressures and the broader future economic and security relationship between our two sovereign nations. My government will fight to get the best deal for Canada. We will take all the time necessary, but not more, in order to do so. In parallel, we will strengthen our relationships with reliable trading partners and allies. Canada has what the world needs, and we uphold the values the world respects.
So my question to you, based on what you just heard, President Donald Trump always gets what he wants. Do you think that Mark Carney's going to get Zelensky'd when he goes to Washington on Tuesday? And you best believe I will be reporting it on my channel. And now we move on to the theme of today's video. Let's not defund, let's dismantle the CBC completely. And as I posted, fired. All of them need to be fired. CBC spews garbage every single day. This is just another disgusting display. They called Pierre Poilievre a dick and then laughed their faces off about it. This is worse than children in a playground.
You have MPs that have told me that they found it really difficult going door to door because a lot of people were saying, we like some of the policies you're doing, but we think your leader's a dick. And we, really.
All right.
And we think he is, you know, I'm sorry, but that's what they're telling me.
All right. I'm going to have some ombudsman's paperwork to fill out before I go home tonight, I think. But yes, not in such language, but I have heard similar sentiments expressed from conservative candidates.
So that's why I'm saying, and we, really.
All right.
And we think he is,
Look
you
at
know,
him laugh.
I'm sorry,
That's
but that's what they're telling me.
It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Do you see David Crocken's face and how he laughed and giggled like a little girl? This should be disciplined with a fine, and you're also fired. What do you think in the comment section? Is this acceptable behavior from our mainstream media? Yeah, that's right. They're paid with your tax dollars to act like an absolute fool. And you know what? I think it's important to read some of these comments. The first one from Flex, that's about as effed as it could get. The next one is, the real definition of dick is taking taxpayer money and spewing out like that. And the base Canuck says, I'm glad that dick is not considered profanity on CBC News. Now we could use it as often as we wish. Isn't that true? And I'm just going down the list. They're all good. Is this even allowed on publicly funded broadcaster? Are the rules any different for all of us? Yeah, exactly. And No Soup for You says, you'll wait a long time if you think their boss, Mark Carney, will take action. They're probably going to get a raise for this kind of behavior. And I love what Dan says because I completely agree. All three of them should take a look in the mirror. Or Jay, laughing like giggly schoolgirls. I agree. Or Susie, working for the government is a great gig. Yeah, you could act like a dick and laugh your face off on TV and face zero repercussions. And why I'm so upset right now is CBC, Hockey Night in Canada. So he was employed by CBC. Don Cherry, a Canadian icon, our Don Cherry that we grew up and watched all the Rock'em Sock'em videos. He got fired from CBC for this.
And I said, I'm not going to run the poppy thing anymore because what's the sense? I live in Mississauga. Nobody wears, very few people wear a poppy. Downtown Toronto, forget it, downtown Toronto, nobody wears a poppy. And I'm not going to, he says, wait a minute. How about running it for the people that buy them? Now you go to the small cities and you know those, the rows on rows, you people love, they come here, whatever it is, you love our way of life, you love our milk and honey, at least you could pay a couple of bucks for poppies or something like that. These guys pay for your way of life that you enjoy in Canada. These guys paid the biggest price. Anyhow, I'm going to run it again for you great people and good Canadians that bought a poppy. I'm still going to run it anyhow.
Don Cherry was a Canadian patriot. He was trying to raise money for our veterans. The guy's a Canadian hero. And guess what? He got fired from CBC for calling people you people. He didn't even say anything more than that. And he was gone. And they threw him away like a dirty, used rag. It was disgusting. And now we have CBC calling people dicks and then people laughing like little schoolgirl children. This is where Canada is at right now. We need to fully dismantle the CBC, not defund, dismantle. And this is my last clip, I promise. Is this gonna be Mark Carney on Tuesday next week?
This is really pretty incredible. We see the SUV,
hang on with us
Zelensky's
one moment.
SUV.
If you look to your left, you're going to see him. Let's watch.
Mr. President, is the deal off? President Zelensky, can you tell us what happened?
So now the question becomes, will Mark Carney get Zelensky'd and booted out of the Oval Office for not respecting Donald Trump? We all know Donald Trump gets whatever he wants. Is Mark Carney going to go and kiss the ring? We're going to find out on Tuesday. Make sure you leave a comment, like, share. Let's grow my channel. I'll see you on the next report.